Hello, my lovelies. We're back. And today, don't mind me, I'm eating my dinner, which is these spinach, artichoke, cheesy fried bites from Stop and Shop. I think they're called Farm Fresh, the brand. That's so good. Today's gonna be a chapter video. I'm also, before we get started, going to be doing a review. My sister found these. We've been trying to get these forever. She found them at Costco. 7-Up Shirley Temple in a can. But not yet. Ooh, did you hear that crack? It's a good crack. So, a little about me. You know, I love soda. I don't drink coffee. I know. But I love soda. So I'm super excited to try this. I'm also very picky because I drink so much and I love it. Yeah. No. Hot. No ordinary soda with them. So, I hope this doesn't ruin the taste with all this spinach and cheese in my mouth. Okay. Dana got me that. She made me a boo basket. How cute is that? Okay. First impressions. Okay. Doesn't have a very strong taste. It says 7-Up Shirley Temple pomegranate and cherry soda. It smells good. It does have the red coloring. Feels like a normal, like Sprite on your tongue, you know, which is different acidity than like Pepsi or Coke. I'm not getting a strong Shirley Temple flavor though. Like I'm tasting the 7-Up, like the Sprite type flavoring. It's definitely good. I give it a 7 out of 10. It's not giving that strong Shirley Temple flavor. Like, you know for a fact there weren't maraschino cherries in this. That's all I gotta say. Listen, I'm not gonna be the original about everything, but I do love something in a can. So me.
Who are you talking to?
My fans.
Oh.
Did you try this Shirley Temple yet?
No. I don't like Shirley Temples. Is it cherry?
Not really. It's good, but it's not giving nostalgic Shirley Temple.
If I get a gym membership?
Like, it doesn't have a strong, like, cherry pomegranate taste. Like, you can tell somebody didn't just pour it freehand the syrup, you know?
We have grenadine.
That's not the point.
Because
Okay.
Angela likes grenadine. Grenadine strawberry.
Okay, I have a book to read.
I asked you a question.
I'll answer it when I'm done doing this. What about it? What?
I said if I also get a membership, can I sometimes go with you and Dana?
Yeah, if Dana's fine with it.
Oh, Dana will be fine. She loves me.
Okay. I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
Have you seen me? I'm her favorite person.
Okay, Pisces. Get out of here. Sorry, Dana. I can't even lie and say that wasn't... I didn't put it on you.
This was my dinner. They were very good. They tasted just like pumpkin pie.
That's my worst nightmare.
It was good.
I hate pumpkin flavored things.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, Pumpkin Queen. This is my dinner. 5 of these. And that's it. So healthy. Okay. I had pizza for lunch. You know when you used to go to a party as a kid and they would do those party slices? They would like third the freaking pizza slices to make as many as possible to give it to little kids. And stretch one pie like a lot. We had a event today for work. Me and my coworker had a public speaking workshop, and we supplied pizza because we found that the only way to get these college students to show up is free food, which been there, done that. That's why I know that works. And I don't know if the person that ordered it told them that it was for like an event or something, or that's how they normally cut their pizza, but I was like, oh, party slices. So I think I had like 1.5 slices technically. But yeah. Quick, which number is this? Is it 4? Is it 5? Is it 3? It's 5. Alright. Now that you're done watching me eat, which wasn't my plan, but I was hungry and they were hot. And I'll definitely get these again. I enjoy it. It's like light. Like it's not heavy in my stomach. Like if I'm having a stomach ache, I could drink something like this because it's mostly 7-Up. Anyways, we're on chapter 16. For those that are caught up. The last sentence of the last chapter was, and that maybe she didn't need to. Okay. Keep in mind, we're almost getting there. We're getting there, guys. Hold on, sorry. The familiar rumble of Hallie's truck grew louder as it made its way down the driveway, and Julian stood, crossing his bedroom to the window. Sunset was beginning to deepen the Sunday evening sky to orange. How long had he been sitting there, contemplating the letter on the floor, and thinking of Hallie? Not long enough to reach his limit, apparently, because he stared through the glass now, starved for the sight of her. The dogs dove free of the truck first, moving in streaks of fur towards the trees at the back of the house. Hallie didn't follow right away. She sat in the driver's seat, chewing her lip, unaware that he could see her, that he could witness her indecision or nerves. About seeing him? He hated that possibility as much as he could relate to it. Being around her always left him in a state of hunger and confusion. Regret, too, because he couldn't seem to stop fucking up and either leading her on or pushing her away. Finally, Hallie hopped down from the truck, went around to the rear and lowered the tailgate. Sunset spilled across her shoulders, turning her cheeks gold. She tipped her face towards the sky and closed her eyes to let the fading light kiss her features, and yearning plowed into his stomach. Hard. Something that scares us. Hallie would definitely be at the top of that list, but a man didn't scale Kilimanjaro on his first hike, and would he now be betraying the letter writer if he used the challenge as an excuse to go after what he might, as well admit it, wanted so goddamn bad? He was being tortured day and night by the thought of it. Her? Also known as the beautiful gardener trudging towards his garden in rubber boots, cut-off shorts, and a navy blue hoodie that hung off one shoulder. In her arms, she carried a pot of what Julian assumed was the Dusty Miller she referred to at the wind-down event. The dogs trotted over to escort her, sniffing at her elbows and knees. She greeted each one of them by name, her voice fading into the evening light as she disappeared around the side of the house, and he moved like an apparition to his office so he could pick up the sound again, hear it in full effect. The silly baby talk way she spoke to her pets that was beginning to sound totally normal to him. The soft expulsions of breath when she exerted herself or dropped to her knees in the soil. Her voice seemed to fill the entire house, warm and sultry and singularly hers. Jesus, was he starting to sweat? Julian was on the verge of returning to the bedroom out of pure necessity, to handle the situation arising in his pants, when his sister's voice joined Hallie's outside the office window. He felt as if ice water were spilling from the crown of his head to his toes. This wasn't good. He didn't know why exactly it wasn't good, but it was decidedly not. Last night at wind down, he'd been distracted by Hallie. Too distracted to be careful with his words. It was only after he'd said those revealing things to Natalie about his unyielding drive to make Hallie happy that he wished he could go back in time and cram a cork in his mouth. There had been more than enough of the bottle stoppers around after all. He might have made progress with Natalie last night. They were working their way back to a better sibling relationship, slowly but surely. But unfortunately, she wouldn't know discretion if it bit her on the ass. Julian moved at a fast clip towards the front of the house and blew down the steps, only slowing to a sedate walk when the two women came into view. They were smiling. Hallie introducing Petey, Todd, and the General to Natalie, who was still in night shorts and a Cornell t-shirt. "Aren't you all just the sweetest gentlemen? Yes, you are. Yes, you are." What was it about dogs that made people talk like that? The animals were eating it up, too, tails whipping like chopper blades. They shocked the hell out of Julian by bounding over to him next, reacting with, dare he say, triple the enthusiasm they displayed for Natalie. Okay, Julian. He was oddly pleased by that. Did he have an undiscovered way with animals? Oh my god, this guy. Get a grip. I fear I'm not a Julian stan. He always assumed pets were for other people. People who chose to devote hours of their lives to caring for an animal instead of useful endeavors. I'm sorry, you think caring for a living thing is not a useful endeavor? Okay. Now, looking down at the guileless eyes of Todd, he wondered if being loved unconditionally wasn't useful after all. "Hello?" he said, greeting them in a normal voice, patting them each on the head. They weren't satisfied with that, however, weaving through his legs until he scratched them behind the ears. "Yes, okay, you're very good boys." "They're slobbering on your socks, Julian," Natalie said, looking at him curiously. "Hey, you forgot to put shoes on. You." "Did I?" he murmured. Did I? Anyone got that reference? Sorry. "Did I?" he murmured, looking down with a pinch of alarm. He'd never gone outside without his shoes before. There was a process to going outdoors, and he'd forgone it completely. The dogs were indeed getting strings of saliva all over the no-nonsense white cotton tube socks. I like how he calls his socks the no-nonsense white cotton tube socks. Okay. And he would need to change them, but that delay didn't gut him like it might have before. How odd. He looked up to find Hallie watching him with a curious expression. "Evenin'," she said, bringing the dogs tangling in her direction. "Good evening, Hallie," he said, his tone deep and formal, and he had no idea why. Only that he wanted to reestablish their footing somehow. Everything between them felt off-kilter, and he was getting really tired of analyzing why their being in balance was so important to him. Natalie, however, was only getting started. She split a gleeful look between Julian and Hallie, rocking side to side on the balls of her feet, as if waiting for the starting gun of a race. "So, Hallie, I didn't put it together last night, but we went to St. Helena High together." She narrowed an eye. "You were the cool new kid for a while, at least until someone else's parents decided to move here and open a vineyard." Hallie tore her eyes from Julian and beamed at his sister, and his chest crunched like cans in a trash compactor. Jealousy brewed inside of him like a pot of dark roast. Damn, did he want that smile directed at him and said, "That was me, although I challenge your assessment that I was cool." Absently, she scratched the General under his chin, still smiling that delighted smile. If she could just glance at him once while it was on her face. "You were the one throwing the parties. I had the pleasure of attending one or two." "So you've seen me topless," Natalie said conversationally, producing a withering sigh from her brother. "Good to know." "They still hold up," Hallie commented, giving her chest an impressed nod. "Thank you," Hallie returned, pressing a hand to her throat. Julian, for his part, was dumbfounded. "For all intents and purposes, you just met and you're already discussing your—" "Oh boy, do you think he's going to say it out loud?" Hallie murmured out of the corner of her mouth. $10 says he doesn't." "I can't bet against you. I'd lose, and I'm too broke to pay up." She faced Hallie fully. "You wouldn't happen to need a family-titled assistant— You wouldn't happen to need a firmly titted assistant by any chance?" Julian slashed a hand through the air. "You are not working together." Both female heads swiveled in his direction. One startled, one looking like a cat who was on her way to snuff out the family canary. "Why not?" Natalie drawled. "Are you worried we talk about you?" She propped her chin on her wrist. What could there possibly be to discuss? Silence ticked by along with the pulse in his temple. Hallie looked at him. In reality, only 3 seconds passed while he tried to come up with the right words for his inconvenient fixation on Hallie, but it wasn't long enough. Nothing to discuss, Hallie answered for them. With color in her cheeks, she slid her attention back to Natalie. And, sorry, you're overqualified, Cornell. His sister shook a fist at the sky. Damn it, foiled once again by my sharp intellect. They shared a fond laugh, visibly considering each other. Listen, there is a rebound in this town that still needs to be bounded, and he has my name on him. Would you want to attend a tasting with me on Tuesday night? Wine crafted by a former Navy SEAL, she cajoled, waggling her eyebrows. I'm sure he's got a friend. Or two, if you're not into that sort of thing. If you're into that sort of thing. Or maybe you already have a boyfriend you can bring. I don't mind being the third wheel. Natalie, Julian said, through teeth that could not be unclenched to say the word. That's enough. Says who? Hallie asked, pivoting to face him. Says me. Idiot. For once, the dogs were silent. His sister had the expression of an Olympian holding up a bouquet of roses. I didn't realize you spoke for me. Hallie laughed, her eyes bright. My sister's making trouble out of sheer boredom, Hallie. I'm just trying to prevent you from getting wrapped up in it. Natalie reared back a little, looking genuinely hurt. Is that what I'm doing? Hallie laid a hand on Natalie's arm, squeezing. The look of reproach she gave him was like a line drive to the gut. Friends don't let friends go to tastings alone. Someone has to talk you out of buying in discounted bulk. Count me in, but, she avoided his stare, no plus ones. Just me. He battled the urge to drop to his knees and worship her. Are you sure? Natalie cut her a sideways glance. You're not just saying yes because my brother's being a tool? This time she looked him square in the eye. I'd be lying if I said that wasn't a good 40% of the reason. Natalie nodded, impressed. I respect your honesty. What the fuck was going on? He'd lost his grip on the situation entirely. I lost my grip on where I was at on the page. Oh. He lost his grip on this situation entirely. In the blink of an eye, his sister had become friends with Hallie. Friends who went drinking together in the company of Navy SEALs. Somehow he was the bad guy. But the real problem, the reality he did not want to admit to himself, was that he liked Natalie and Hallie forming a bond. It reminded him of the moment Hallie turned her face to the orange sky and he could hear the dogs barking in the yard. It hit him like a wave of preemptive melancholia. He'd think of this someday. He'd think of a lot of it. All of it. With a rough clearing of his throat, Julian walked on dirty socks back to the house, which really took the dignity out of it all, and stripped the soggy things off before setting foot on the hardwood floor. He threw them into the hamper on top of his running clothes and paced back to the kitchen, pouring himself a third glass of whiskey, cursing and adding another inch. He slugged it back and stood there staring down into his empty glass until the rumble of Hallie's truck engine brought his head up, just in time for his sisters to storm into the kitchen. Are you a whole-ass moron, Julian? No one had ever asked him a question like that. Perhaps it had been implied by his father, but in a far more aggressive format. Excuse me? Natalie threw up her hands. Why did you let you right back to that secret admirer? A mallet swung and connected with his temple. Hallie told you she knew? In passing, yes. He came as close as he ever could to smashing a glass on the ground. How does something like that get mentioned in passing? Couldn't you talk about the weather instead of swapping life stories after a 5-minute acquaintance? Jesus! He shouted. I told you I didn't want to do it. You didn't tell me why! She raked her fingers through her dark hair. Oh my god, the way you spoke about her last night, now the chemistry and the angst. She threw herself back against into the pantry door, rattling it loudly. I'm gonna die. It was not good for whatever peace of mind he had left to have someone recognize the connection between himself and Hallie and say it aloud. Why was he suddenly winded? You think I should pursue Hallie? Is that what I'm getting from your threat? I'm bashful. Say, don't be bashful, Lorax. I think it gets better the more you drink it. So. Okay. Where was I? Okay. You think I should pursue Hallie? Is that what I'm getting from your theatrics? Her eyes flashed with accusation. I don't know if you have a chance with her now, secret admirer, letter returner. Was there a pickaxe buried in his chest? You begged me to write that letter. She made a disgusted face, flashing a middle finger. You wanted to get tangled up in semantics, fine, but the point is, you blew it. She's a rare spot of sunshine, and you're committed to huddling in the shade. She paused. Maybe I should write a book instead of you. That was a sick metaphor. Julian started to leave the kitchen. Speaking of which, I'm going to work. You haven't written in a week. It's because of her, isn't it? You're all tied in knots and full of woe like a T-bird in love with a scorpion. Grease is my favorite comfort movie. Okay? Her voice rose. What is the issue with pursuing her? He spun around at the mouth of the hall? I don't know what that means. She makes me feel out of fucking control, he snapped. You've been that way your whole life, so maybe you don't understand why that would be undesirable to someone. She leaves things to chance. She's flighty. She doesn't think her course of action through from beginning to end, and chaos is the result. She comes with dirty footprints and corralling dogs and sticky children and tolerating lateness. I'm too rigid for that. For her. A low, distant ringing started in his ears. I'd dim her glow. I'd change her, and I would hate myself for it. Natalie's throat worked for a series of heavy moments, the room lightening and darkening with a passing cloud. Learn to let go, Julian. Learn. He scoffed, making his throat burn worse. You say that like it's easy. It's not. I know, because I've done it in reverse. That gave Julian pause, drawing him out of his own misery. In reverse? Natalie had gone from free spirit to dimmed down? Fine, she'd quit her antics, buckled down, and gone to a prestigious college, worked her way up to a partner at a major investment firm, but she wasn't anything like him, was she? She was full of humor and spontaneity in life. Unless there was a lot more happening under the surface, a lot he couldn't see. She diverted her gaze before he could search for it. Come with us Tuesday night, Julian. Don't live with regrets. Julian stared at the empty archway long after Natalie had vacated it, trying to remember how he gotten to this point. Yes.
The cookies are a disaster because guess what TikTok lady forgot to say? In the comments, deep down, she goes, oh, forgot to mention it doesn't turn out right because everyone's like, they're not coming out right. She's like, forgot to mention I didn't add baking powder to the ingredient list.
So add baking powder.
You can't. It's too late. I'm never trusting a TikToker ever again.
I fear I warned you.
They look so yummy.
Yeah, because they're fake.
All this time wasted.
What did we learn from this?
Look at the comments.
Look at the comments.
The first comment I saw was, wow, these are so good. I scrolled down. Wait till you see all these. Sorry, guys. I'm going through something right now.
I give this a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
What would you give it?
So this is what it's supposed to look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, there's more. See, the first one, why I was like, oh yeah, like look how good those look.
Those would look really good.
Hold on. People are just saying you.
Wait, you show them.
I can't remember. So I've been bamboozled on TikTok. Look at this cookie. The lady
It's like
forgot
a piece of paper.
to put baking powder in the ingredients list, and then you had to scroll all the way down for her to be like,
why is it too
"Whoopsies."
late?
Because it has to go in an order, or else it doesn't come out right.
Might as well at least try so it doesn't look like that. And no. Try to put the baking powder in.
This is what everyone's going through.
Put the baking powder
I like
in.
to say it tastes good. Mmm.
Sheet of paper. Put the baking powder in.
It's too late, Sam.
You
What
won't
happened
until
to
you try.
this person? Oh, that's not even what it is.
Those are just chocolate chip cookies.
Sam, why are they so puffed up? That doesn't look right. Guys, do you think it's edible? Chat, I'm never baking again.
Chat, you're cooked.
I'm never baking again. This is miserable. Well, blame it on TikTok.
You know that meme of that girl in court and she's like,
Cuz, what the fuck?
sorry, chat. Okay. Julian stared at the empty archway long after Natalie had vacated it, trying to remember how he got to this point, this edge of the cliff where leaping was necessary. He hadn't asked for this, never wanted it, but now? I'm too rigid for that, for her. Learn to let go. That advice had come across as flippant at first. It made sense to him, though. If he knew how to do anything, it was learn. Expand his way of thinking. He'd just never done so in the name of romance, with the intent of... what? Was he going after Hallie now? Pursuing her? The very idea was absurd, wasn't it? They lived an hour and a half away from each other, leading extremely different lives. The fact that they were polar opposites hadn't changed one iota. Hallie still brought disorder with her wherever she went, and he would dull all of that. He'd squash it. When they first met, he thought she needed to change, learn to be punctual, more organized. He'd even been so arrogant as to critique her as a gardener and decide she could do with some symmetry training. Now the idea that she would change, even the slightest on his account, made Julian feel seasick. Then learn. It would have to be him that changed. Pursuing Hallie meant easing his grip on time management. It meant learning to exist without the constraints of minutes and hours, living with paw prints on his pants and understanding that she would do inconceivable things like volunteer to babysit 30 children and stuff them with donuts, or steal cheese in broad daylight. Why was he smiling, damn it? He was. He could see his reflection in the microwave. I proposed that we do something that scares us this week. Was it in bad taste to take the advice from his secret admirer and use it to suit his purposes with Hallie? Probably. But Jesus, now that he'd given himself permission to go get her, a rush of anticipation started in the crown of his head, blasting down to his feet so swiftly. He had to lean against the wall. Okay, then. My goal is to date her. My goal is to be her boyfriend. He could barely hear his own thoughts over the ruckus his heart was making. And yes, he was going to try his damnedest to stop stuffing everything in life into the parameters of plan and a schedule. But not when it came to this. To her. He needed a plan for winning her because something deep in the recesses of his chest told him this was too important to be left up to chance. Okay, we all know that she likes him, and we know that as a reader, but very presumptuous of him that he's like, gonna get her. We're gonna be together. Also talking about the future, like, how about you see if you guys work out first? Slow your horses. Okay. So that was chapter 16. I feel like that chapter was anticlimactic and it was just like Julian finally waking the fuck up. Thanks, Natalie. Let's see. Our obligatory checking to see how many pages. It's a long ass chapter. But let's do it. Let's fucking go. Tuesday night, Hallie stood in front of her full-length mirror in 2 different shoes, trying to decide which one looked better. She snapped a quick picture with her phone and fired it off to Lavinia, who promptly responded with, "Wear the heels, but if you replace me as your best friend tonight, be warned that I will stab you with one." "Never," Hallie texted back, snorting. She took aside some of the clothes and beauty products on her floor and found the lint roller, dragging the stickiness down her snug black dress to rid it of the 3 varieties of dog hair. She stepped back over the pile of rejected shoes and entered her en-suite bathroom, leaving the lint roller in a place she probably wouldn't find it next time, and Hallie straightened, her fingers pausing in the act of rooting through lipstick to find the right shade of golden peach. Golden peach? It's an interesting lipstick shade. Watching her actions as if they were being performed by someone else, she removed the sticky strip of dog hair from the roller, threw it in the trash, and replaced the essential tool for dog owners in the drawer where she used to keep it. She stepped back from the mirror and looked around, wincing at the clutter. Now that she'd taken a big step in her professional life, tomorrow she'd need to take a leap in her personal one and reign in this house jungle. Or at least get a running start. But first, she'd get through tonight. Going to a wine tasting with Julian's sister was a terrible idea considering she resolved to move on. For real this time. Especially after the awkward scene that had played out in his front yard. He'd made it clear that they were incompatible and written a letter to someone else, so what gave him the right to decide what she did with her time, or whom she spent it with? The guest house garden was almost complete. She hadn't quite decided what she would use to fill the final spaces, but it would come to her. Hopefully on her next trip to the nursery, and then she could wrap up her responsibilities to the Voss family, build a matriarch, and move on. No more secret admirer letters, either. They were just another ill-conceived part of her life. She'd acted on impulse, and where did it lead her? To having him validate all of her feelings, the ones she'd held on to for so long, and those things were not good, because Julian remained unavailable to her. Nothing had changed. If she revealed herself to him as author of those letters, he would probably be disappointed that she wasn't some like-minded scholar with a home filing system. Maybe she would write the letters to herself from now on, instead of Julian.
Would you like to show them how they turned out? Apparently. It's on the tray.
I'll show after.
No.
If I move it, it's gonna get fucked.
Bring it in here.
It's not letting me see. I'm not going. I'm going to be charged forever. No, I think there's the one over here and tell them. No, I'm not going. Okay, I don't.
Chet, does this look scrumptious?
Wow, so good. Wow. Somebody get her a baking award.
If you want to hire me,
for all your natural disasters.
I blame TikTok. Mom's licking the batter.
Okay, close the door.
So delicious.
Where were we? Oh yes, she'd write the letters to herself. They'd led her somewhere useful, hadn't they? She'd finally admitted that avoidance through chaos was harming her livelihood. Even her friendship with Lavina, who had begun looking at her in that worried, measuring way. Hallie needed to turn onto a new path, a healthy one. Hallie shuffled a few lipsticks into her makeup case and snapped it shut, suddenly looking forward to a cleaning spree in the morning. A fresh start. Maybe she would even pick a new wall color for the living room and do some painting. Peony pink or peacock blue. Something vivid that would serve as a reminder that she was not only capable of admitting her self-destructive habits, but of finding a way to correct her course while remaining true to herself. With a nod, Hallie requested an Uber, and spent the 10-minute wait saying goodbye to the boys, which led to another harried trip to the lint roller. But the snuffling snuggles were well worth it. She'd taken them to the dog park after dinner so they could run off an excess energy that might lead to her coming home to couch stuffing all over the floor. Now she put some extra food in their bowls and walked out the front door, clutch purse in hand, sinking into the backseat of the black Prius. Julian must have given his sister Hallie's phone number because Natalie had texted her that afternoon with an address to the apparently seal-owned winery Zelnick Cellar. The place had a website, but it was under construction, and she'd never heard of it from anyone in town. She was curious, even if spending the evening with the Voss wasn't the wisest step on her road to separating herself from all things Julian. 10 minutes later, the Uber stopped in front of a medium-sized barn surrounded by wooden fencing. Flickering lights shone from within, and she could see a small crowd standing around. She had to imagine they were locals, since she hadn't been able to find the tasting advertised anywhere on the web. Was it entirely through word of mouth? Tossing a thank you to the driver, Hallie climbed out of the backseat and stood, tugging down the snug hem of her dress. She opened the flashlight app on her phone. Getting a lot of use out of it lately, huh? And did her best to navigate the dirt path leading to the barn while wearing skinny 3-inch heels. The closer she got to the music and the crowd, the more well-lit the path became, and she slipped her phone back into her purse. Glowing white bulbs bounced up and down in the breeze, strung from high points of the barn. Was that the Beach Boys playing? This had to be the most casual wine tasting she'd ever attended. No doubt she'd overdressed. Julian stepped into the barn entrance, in a sharp charcoal gray suit, holding a bouquet of wildflowers in his hand. Time slowed down, allowing her to feel and experience the over-the-top response of her hormones. They sung like tone-deaf preteens in the shower, screeching the high notes with misplaced confidence. Wow. Oh, wow. He looked like he'd walked out of an advertisement for an expensive watch with too many dials, or Gucci cologne. Good Lord. Wait, wildflowers were her favorite. How hadn't he known? Honestly, it tracked that he would be. But still. Honestly, it tracked that they would be the flowers. But still. She recognized the pink cellophane wrapping. He'd gone all the way to the nursery for that colorful spray. Who were they for? Why was he here in the first place? Close your mouth before you start drooling. Salivating became even more of a possibility when Julian closed the distance between them, striding forward in that purposeful way of his. And when his head blocked the light coming from the barn, she saw determination and focus in the set of his jaw, the intensity of his eyes, the deep line of concentration between his eyebrows. Hello, Hallie. The sheer depth of his voice, like, what is going on today? The sheer depth of his voice, like the belly of a submarine scraping the ocean floor, almost had her backing away, just dropping her purse and running. Because what was happening here? Without breaking eye contact, Julian picked up her free hand and wrapped around the bouquet of wildflowers. For you. She shook her head. I don't understand. He seemed to be expecting that because his expression didn't shift at all. He merely seemed torn over which part of her face to study. Nose, mouth, cheeks. I'll explain. But first, I want to apologize for my behavior on Sunday. I acted like a jackass. Hallie nodded dazedly. Was she accepting that apology? Hard to say when she was watching Julian slowly drag his tongue from right to left along his bottom lip, an answering clench taking place between her thighs. Something was different about him. He never failed to be entirely magnetic, but this was on a whole other level. It was almost intentional. Like he'd forgotten his filter at home. I'd like the opportunity to spend time with you, Hallie. His attention traveled downward, stopping at the hemline of her dress, that bump in his throat traveling high then low, along with the register of his voice. When he reached out a single finger and traced the location where her skin met the hem, the air vanished from her lungs. I want to date you. I mean, he's forthright, I'll give him that, and he gets right to the point. Like, why beat around the bush? He told her what he wanted. So, that's good. He packed so much bite into the word date. There was no pretending it didn't have more than one meaning, especially when his fingers was just inside the hem now, teasing side to side, setting her legs trembling. You want to date me? Yes. I still don't understand what changed. Julian. He's a hooligan. Julian hooked his finger and dragged her close by the hem of her dress. Breathless, her head fell back so she wouldn't have to break eye contact. God, he was tall. Did he grow in the moonlight, or did he just seem larger now that he apparently stopped holding himself? Truthfully? He asked. Yes, truthfully, she whispered. Acute distress flickered briefly in his gaze. I felt you slipping away from me. On Sunday, in the yard. He paused, visibly searching for an explanation. We'd left things up in the air before, but this was different, Allie. And I didn't like it. He studied her closely. Was I right? Have you slipped away from me? Under such intense scrutiny, there was no point in providing anything but the truth. Yes, I have. His chest rose sharply, shuddering back down. Let me try and reverse that decision. No. She ignored how sexy he looked with that single professor's eyebrow hoisting into the air and letting the word hang between them. Maybe the longer she left it there, the better chance she would have of actually keeping her resolve. Panicked by her slim odds, Hallie reminded herself that he'd written back to the other woman, or what he assumed was another woman. He told a stranger deep, important things about himself, and that hurt, because he'd made Hallie feel like his confidant. Then he'd given that confidence to someone else. Dude, you're the same person. Like, I get it, but, like, you're no better. You're still lying, too. Like, oh, she was the furthest thing from blameless here. Oh, okay. Alright, keep reading to him. Writing those letters had been deceptive and short-sighted. Part of the reason for distancing herself now was to leave her folly behind her, pretend she hadn't acted so impulsively, and enjoy the clean slate she planned to start writing on tomorrow. She could admit that. However, the sting of him leaving a letter on that stump continued to linger. Okay, fair enough. And last, but definitely not least, hadn't she proposed in her last letter they'd both do something that scared them? For her, it was walking to the library and taking the landscaping job. For Julian, obviously, it was her. This scared him. Hallie bit back the sudden need to knee him in the jewels. No? He echoed Hallie, his fingertip pausing in its sensual travels beneath her hem, misery etching itself on his features. I really have behaved poorly, haven't I? In all honesty, they both have. So she couldn't answer them with a yes, not without being a hypocrite. What happened to us being wrong for each other, she asked and said. We decided that pretty early on, didn't we? Yes, he said, moving his hand away from her with a visible effort, curling his fingers into a fist and shoving it into his pants pocket. It comes to my attention that I am far more wrong for you than the other way around, Hallie. You're nothing short of breathtaking, unique and beautiful and bold, and I'm a goddamn idiot if I ever made you feel otherwise. She could feel in her bones how badly he wanted to reach for her in that moment. I'm sorry. Every second we've spent together, I've been restraining myself, trying to stay controlled. And that's not important to you anymore? Not as important as you. Wow, she whispered breathlessly. Hard to fault any of these answers. That fist came out of his pocket and he shook it out, flexed his fingers and stepped forward to cup her cheek, his thumb tracing the cupid's bow of her upper lip. I want to learn you, Hallie. His voice was low, imploring. Let me learn. Oh my. A tremor coursed from her belly down to her knees, almost causing her to lose her balance. She might have if the magnetism of his gaze wasn't holding her steady. Of course, when this man decided to be romantic, decided to try and woo a woman, the results were deadly. She just underestimated how potent his full effort and intention would be. Also, if this was an inappropriate time to be turned on, someone needed to tell her vagina, because while standing with Julian in the swirling mist of the moonlight, his breath bathing her mouth, belt buckle grazing her stomach, it took serious effort not to lick him. Just lick him anywhere she could reach. Maybe those cords in his neck or the forearms he was hiding underneath the sleeves of his suit. Everything you think is right there on your face, he said, battling a smile. Hallie took a step backward, losing the warmth of his hand, his breath. I'm thinking about the wine I'm going to drink. Liar. He tossed a glance around towards the bar. And don't get your hopes up. It's terrible. If my sister wasn't in there, I'd suggest we make a run for it. Terrible wine? She grimaced. How badly does anyone need a sister? He laughed, a rich rumbling sound that made the air feel lighter. Come on, he held out his hand to her. We'll spill it out onto the table while his back is turned. That sounds like the kind of plan I would come up with. His eyes flickered with His eyes flickered with determination, affection. I'm learning you already. Lord help her, she couldn't do anything but twine her fingers through his after that. She watched with a grapefruit in her throat as he kissed her knuckles gratefully, pulling her at his side towards the barn. Then, she was walking into a wine tasting holding Julian's hand, like a couple. He led her through a light-strung barn, through a gathering of about 24 people, the scent of fermented grapes and straw heavy in the air. Guests stood in groups around candlelit high-top tables, their glasses of wine remaining noticeably full. The waiter, who'd obviously been hired to refill glasses and prod attendees to buy bottles to go, looked stressed, unsure of what to do with himself. And his boss, the Navy SEAL turned Napa Vinter, was too busy staring deep into Natalie's eyes to advise him. "Oh boy," Hallie muttered. "Uh-huh. Ask me how glad I was when your Uber pulled up." "Maybe we should help." Julian slid a full glass of red wine in front of her, looking at it pointedly. She picked it up and took a sip, bitterness oozing down her throat. "Dear God," she croaked. "There's no way to salvage this." "None," Julian agreed. Someone a few tables over called Hallie's name, a reoccurring client, and she waved, smiling and exchanging some predictions about what would be blooming soon. When she turned back to Julian, he was watching her closely. That deep groove taking up residence. Guys, I think I might be illiterate. He was watching her closely, that deep groove taking up real estate between his brows. All she could do was stare in return, sighing shakily when he rested a big hand on her hip, tugging her closer, until she was in the circle of his heat, head tilted back. "You're dangerous like this," she murmured. That thumb dug into her hip bone ever so slightly. "Like what?" Tingles ran all the way down to her toes, hair follicles prickling on the crown of her head. "Are you going to pretend like you're not trying to seduce me?" His focus fell to her mouth. "Oh, I am 100% trying to seduce you." A long, hot clenching took place between her thighs, tummy muscles coiling. Tummy muscles? I feel like he just ruined the moment right there. Tummy muscles coiling, skin temperature skyrocketing. With a trembling laugh, she glanced over her shoulder and quickly scanned the room. "At least 3 of my regular clients are here. It wouldn't be very professional to be seduced where they can see me." Was he looking at the pulse in her neck? It started beating faster as if breathing under the tension. "Then I suggest we go for a walk." She pursed her lips at him and hummed. "I don't know about that. The last time we went for a walk in the vineyard, I only came back disappointed." Damn. The corner of his mouth jumped with humor, but his eyes were serious. "Not this time, Hallie. I promise, a confident one." "What does that mean exactly?" Hallie asked softly, haltingly. He hesitated a moment, tongue tucked into his cheek. Then he dropped his mouth to her ear and said, "It means, this time, I'm not finishing on your thighs." Holy Mother of God! Images bombarded her mind, those wires in Julian's neck straining, hands roaming desperately in the darkness, her knees in his big hands. If she didn't know any better, she would have thought that one sip of terrible wine had gone to her head. The giddy lift of lust was so magnificent. Letting herself get carried off on Julian's current could be a really bad idea. Not only did she have a secret, that she was his secret admirer, but there was no evidence that a relationship would work. And in fact, it was a total long shot. People couldn't change so drastically, could they? Or so fast? Like, can we talk about it's like literally a day difference? Night and day. But weren't moments like this why she'd finagled her way into fixing the guest house garden in the first place? She wanted her dose of magic with Julian Voss. Now that she knew him, now that she'd fallen for the real man, being happy with a single moment was impossible. She didn't have to think about that tonight, though. She could just let herself be taken for the ride. The one she dreamed about since high school. The one that was so much more powerful now that she'd gotten to know him. This man who bought awnings for failing wine shops, or jumped to host children's stories time and saved her from being arrested. Lost in her thoughts, she swayed forward involuntarily, and her breast grazed his upper abdomen, the suggestive rasp of their clothing making her want to moan, rub against him like a cat, especially when his eyes went smoky lids heavy. "Hallie," he half growled, "take the walk with me." With the word yes on the tip of her tongue, her conscience made a last-minute attempt to throw up a barrier, talk her out of taking something she needed and wanted. Tell him the truth first, or you'll regret it. But apparently she needed more time to become a reasonable, non-reckless person, because all she said was, yes. Let's see. Should I leave you guys on that little cliffhanger? Or do you guys want the meat and potatoes? Let's see. Oh no, that's a very long chapter. Oh, nope, still going. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. No. I'm gonna keep you on your fucking toes. Okay, so we did 2 chapters, 16 and 17. And we still have, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 6. I want to say 6 left. We're almost there, guys. And guess what? He still doesn't know that she's the second nightmare. So I'm feeling, based on that we only have 6 chapters left, that this is gonna be rushed. And I'm not a fan of that, because that's annoying. And also, they just love doing things in public spaces. Also, she didn't even go in and say hi yet to the sister. Who invited her? Which I know the sister, like, invited Julian, so this would happen, but she doesn't know that. Listen, I know she's flighty, but she can have manners. Anyways. Final rating for almost drinking half the can. I'm gonna give it 7.5. Yeah, 7.5. But I will say, it might increase to maximum 8 after the full can. Because when you keep, like, continuously drinking it, the flavor gets stronger. But it's still not overpowering. It's still very light and refreshing. But I wouldn't say it's, like, an all-time favorite. But I would definitely drink them. And, like, every so often. But anyways, Hallie and Julian, crazy kids. Glad he got his head out of the Glad he got his head out of his ass, though. Took long enough, though. But anyways. Sorry, I was listening to the tea happening between my mom and my sister. I hope you enjoyed those 2 chapters. I will do, maybe, let me know, because every time I say I'm going to do a video, I never do it when I say I'm going to do it. So, till next time, I love you, my lovelies. Miss you. Bye.